Hi, Jay. Thank you so much for giving the time today and talking with me. I want to introduce myself first. I am Preeti Chandamoyana. I am a IT healthcare product manager who is now transitioning into medical careers. So I'm running an Instagram page where I'm documenting my journey step by step so that it would be helpful for any of them looking to do a career switch, maybe for the graduates that are looking roles in the healthcare. So today I want to feature your perspective as a senior nurse recruiter. So can we get started with your introduction and your role as a nurse recruiter?
Yeah. So I am currently a senior nurse recruiter at Emory Healthcare. I've been recruiting for about 23 years. I started off in IT and moved my way into medical, which I've seen quite a bit in that amount of time. So I know in speaking with you, we chatted about earlier about a few things, and I'm happy to be on and looking forward to this.
Yeah. Uh, to get started, I want to understand about the nursing role in particular and how the hiring process would look like. And what are some of the key skills that a recruiter or the hospitals look for in a resume, maybe in the work experience, things like that? Could you elaborate on those?
Yeah. So there's a range depending on what you apply for. Not every job is going to be the same, and it's going to be depending on the recruiter who is managing the position on how much detail they add to the job board or the requisition that is what we call it on the back end as to what you're looking to identify. I tell most applicants to look at the details of the job and see currently what that particular hospital is doing because it's not just going to be about the job description itself. There are some intangible things that are not always within the job that you want to make applicable to your resume. And from that, I would say look deeply as to what the requirements are, what are the minimum qualifications, what does that entail, and then work your resume about it. I know a lot of people, when they utilize a resume, they want to give their previous job description. I tell most, tell a story within your job. Um, if your job required you to meet certain goals or metrics, add those metrics, give details, talk about deadlines that you hit, and share everything within there because that's what we're seeking for when we're looking into a resume. And everybody's resume is different because there's so much that you've done in your position or your role to where you may have more than what is actually needed within there, which is why I tell most to just tell a story within each job, but don't rewrite your job description in your resume. Does that make
Got it.
sense? Okay.
Yep. And how about in a particular situation, people like me, like who are doing a career switch, like where I have 10 years of working background and now if shifting to medical career, would my experience become zero or can I bring in my transferable skills? And how does that come into play when looking for a role?
Bring in, you'll be able to bring in your transferable skills as it relates to essentially work ethic. Now, as far as what recruiters look for from the standpoint of transitioning, let's say from IT or to nursing, there's not going to be a one-to-one transferable skills. So when you come in, it's going to be essentially starting over. Um, and it could be a good thing. I've had nurses who I've worked with before, one of which has changed her career from finance to nursing and has worked her way right back up to where she once was. It does take time. It's not a first year reward, but it is you have the discussions and going into a new field. I would talk about growth track. What does it look like? What does the organization offer as it relates to moving up into roles once I learn the role that I'm in, and then set me on that path. Um, And there are some nurses who get into residency to where their manager sees something in them and they precept within that department, which is basically leading and that, can rely on. They've really retained the information for that department and are utilizing it and are able to help others. So, not always one-to-one, but
Yeah,
at least there's opportunity there for growth over the coming years.
got it. Talking about different specialties that nurses work in, let's say medical surgery, ICU. So, which specialties that you are seeing a greatest demand, so that it will be helpful for future grads to pick a particular specialty or train more in a particular specialty?
So, every specialty is different. Every specialty actually has a different personality. Um, we will always need ICU and ED nurses, somebody with critical thinking skills. I foresee an opportunity for new nurses to jump into CVOR. Um, Based off the current rate of heart issues that are going on in the nation today, we're seeing a high demand for CVOR nurses and understanding how to circulate within that department. You can also look at CVR ICU or cath lab. You know, I won't deter anybody away from med surg. I find that that's a discipline that most start in as they're going through school, and then they're getting the hours. But really look at where you want to be and navigate the end of your like as you're a nursing student. At the end of those years, look at really what path you want to be on to start engaging in conversations where you're doing your hours. I say a big part of nursing is networking and love to see it. It's, one thing I love about nurses is the bond that they share across the board to where, they know somebody within that community, if not in that specialty, where it's very strong. So I definitely encourage you to look at all options, but some of those areas could, like I said, always will be ICU, ED, up and coming CVOR, CVICU, so from there.
Got it. And talking about the career path or the career growth, how does it look for nurses, and what kind of opportunities that they can expect?
Everybody's career path is different, and every hospital that offers a career path, theirs is different. So I know for the most part, when you look at it, that's one of the things you really want to ask and get details in because I'll have a certain lattice to it in regards to growth. And then you also want to look at how long it will take you to get there. After your first year, you can start looking at opportunities where you're at, but I don't think you're really fully developed at year one. You are on your own at 9 months, but I think, by year two into there, you start asking the questions, what area do I want to go into? Do I want to be in leadership or do I want to go to that next level as a nurse? There's a lot of
Yes,
requirements that I see out there as it relates to kind of studies, research that will get you there and going down that path. And every hospital is, like I said, is different. So they'll share what that path looks like for you to get there and then how many levels that it will take for you to get there. Um, I know some hospitals kind of bring everybody in at one level, and then you grow from there from a staff RN3 to 4, 5, and 6, and then so on up to a charge preceptor, um, and then going into manager roles. It's just the path that you take, and then what area will provide you that path. I think there's more opportunity for nurses now where people are trying to grow in their career, be it vertically or, it being horizontal or flat. Um, it's just whatever works best for you.
makes sense. So with the current changes in technology, AI is being used widely in healthcare as well. So I would like to bring that topic and know your insights on how does it affect this ecosystem of nursing and how does it impacts the hiring as well.
As a recruiter, I'm not privy to a lot of that information, but just from my opinion, I
Just
don't
your
see,
thoughts.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I don't see AI taking over. I hear a lot about it, a lot about AI and it being kind of the future, but it's not fully baked. Um, it will take time, but I see it as a tool to help nurses. But you'll still have to heavily rely on just that mindset and still calculating certain things for medicine and things of that nature. I just I truly don't see it as being one of those at all. Um, Maybe 10 years down the line, I think they're still just trying to get it right themselves and make it something to where you're just not asking a question and just regurgitating information that we don't know whether it's true or not or how well it is because
yeah,
in order for AI to be something that is of use, it requires information to be loaded into it. And I feel like, for nurses, they will be the ones who input that information and can dictate how soon AI will become a thing. So I don't see it being anything anytime soon.
yeah, definitely. One last question. What is the one piece of advice you would give to the students that are wanting to pursue nursing but are scared because of the maybe opportunities or changing market conditions, things like that?
Network, network early, ask questions. There's not many people who are out there like me. I hope that there's still some who open up their LinkedIn and answer questions for somebody like yourself who, has questions about the process and are intrigued by, making that transition and what does that look like. I think networking is still very important. I feel like COVID put us in a bit of our own bubble,
Yeah,
where we don't have the time to provide feedback, um, and have that human interaction, on a day-to-day basis. But I would encourage all students network with your peers, network with hospitals that you have interest in. When you go do your hours and you're on the floor, network with nurses who are there, chat them up, talk about what your growth plans are, where you want to be, and what process did they take. Especially while there are still nurses who are in a different generation. I'm still seeing nurses who are in that boomer generation. Then we have our Gen X, and so everybody provides a wealth of knowledge that they can bring, but ask questions. That's all I say. Very passionate about it, and I welcome anybody to ask questions. And I think you should seek out people within your field and ask those questions. Even we reach out to the certification, like nursing boards, ask questions, um, because they can provide a lot of information. I know that I use them all the time just to get a better understanding of what nurses actually do in detail. So, but yeah,
yeah. Thank you so much for your valuable insights. And I know we're at time, but yeah, thank you so much for your inputs. And this might be valuable for someone who's looking to change a career or maybe starting their grad school at nursing.
you're so welcome.